Hey everybody, welcome to Your Unpaid Therapist.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Your Unpaid Therapist.
I'm not getting paid. I didn't even get a donut.
Oh, that's sexy though. I like it.
I'm Valerie Milagros Ortiz.
I don't know. I am your host, Ali Kona. She's away. Brad Ford.
This is Your Unpaid Therapist. Shoo-wah, cha-cha.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Your Unpaid Therapist. We are on a high because we have Matt Marr with us in the room, in the flesh again, and we just couldn't be happier.
I love y'all. It's very exciting to be here.
And today we're going to get into it. So we've been talking a lot about the power of women and expressing their anger or not being able to, and the comfortability of being able to do that because of a whole lot of things. So we're going to get into that. But of course, we're going to dive right into our Never Have I Evers. And Alicona is shuffling and shuffling.
What you pick
Oh, you
first.
want me? Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Let's see. Never have I ever catfished someone. You know, I have not. But if you ask David, he will tell you that I did. Because if you're new to the podcast or new to me, whatever, I was doing the dating app things, y'all. And it was really interesting, super fun, ish, because I didn't date a lot. But I didn't put any like headshotty photos or modelly photos on purpose because I'm like, it's not me. Like Ali Kona knows, like if I'm not doing this, I'm like in my workout clothes, hardly any makeup, what?
Let me just add to this that
Oh,
I'm
Jesus.
so mad because of the fact that is how you are. And you
It
don't,
is.
But no. Hold on. Let me finish.
Anger.
Anger.
This bitch does not wear any makeup, and she's like glowing and angelic
Lies.
and
She is-
beautiful. And
She
I'm
does
like,
have
you know
flawless
what?
skin.
Hold on, screw you! Because if I don't have makeup on, it's like I'm tired. I got bags under my
but that's a
eyes.
lie, and that's what you believe. But I saw you without makeup when I went to Vegas for her birthday. Actually, one other time for the first time we were doing the podcast, and I saw her. Oh, because you spent the night.
Yeah.
And I was like, "You're so pretty," because
Go
you never
away.
see her like that.
Yeah,
Anyway, whatever.
You're
We
a
all
liar
are worst.
too.
Yeah,
You're a
we're our
liar.
worst critics.
Mhm.
All that to say, I did that, whatever. I'm just going to put how I am most of the time. Because if you don't like that, he ain't going to like 24/7 of me. And then I had glasses on because I had a picture of my dog and I was trying to be like a nerd and she was an astronaut. And he was like, "You catfished me." He's like, "Because that's not how you look." He's like, "You tried to downplay everything." And he's like, "But I knew." That he's like, "You've never worn those glasses since I saw it on the app."
You're like, yeah, it's costume.
Exactly.
But that's good. You set the expectations low, so then when they see you, they're like, "Damn, girl,
Yeah, that's better.
that's better."
Have y'all ever catfished anybody?
No.
Have you
I've
been
not.
catfished?
I'm a big yes, and it's an immediate cancel for me. Immediate. Like even if you're like I was just talking to my neighbor, he said he went on a date with a guy who said he was 6'4", and then he gets there and the guy's 5'10", which is not short. Like 5'10" is a great height, but I immediately am like, oh well, I can't trust you because if you're lying about if you're lying about that or you're not showing that you look, then I want to be with someone who's very authentic, radically authentic, and if you're not that, then that's fine. Unless you're cute. Maybe I'll have you for a night.
Get out. Okay.
Never have I ever. Ali Kona shuffling.
Let's go yellow. We haven't done a
Yeah,
yellow
do
one in
yellow.
a while. Never have I ever gone on a blind date. No.
Really?
Not?
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was
wow.
hoping you did.
Wow,
Like,
because you know it would be a good
right, I was
story.
like, oh, this is gonna be juicy.
Yeah.
Dang it, I'm so disappointed. I haven't either. But I
You
was
haven't?
Like, no.
So
You
just
haven't?
me?
Oh, tell us.
This was years ago. This was back. She's still a really, really good friend now. But I think I was kind of one of her first gay friends, like good gay friends. And y'all, like when somebody is not around gay people, they're like, "Oh, you're gay. Bob's gay.
You must love each
You
other.
must want to date." And it's like, no, it's not how it works. And so I think she kind of set me up with this guy who was like a friend of a friend. And we show up and like, he's okay, cute or whatever. Like the date was fine. Oh, actually, I've done 2 blind dates because that one was fine. We just didn't really click. But the one I'm talking about is he was fine. He was kind of nerdy, which I think sometimes is cute.
Yeah.
But we were in the middle of the day and we were having dinner and he kind of like paused something and I just kind of said, "Oh, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just working with this dentist. For some reason, I've got really horrible breath lately and we don't know why. And I don't know if it's something going on. I have an infection in my mouth." And I was just like,
"Oh,
this is our first, like, I hope you don't think we're kissing now. Like, it was just completely...
No. Like, it's off.
It was... I'm all about people being honest, but that just... It just completely, like... I don't think I was really into him anyway, but after that, and that was... I told my friends, like, yeah, I don't think... She said to me, like, 3 years later, she went, "I get it now. I would never have set you up with him." I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Yeah.
We're learning.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and do another one just because, like...
But that's it. I would do another one. If somebody knows you
if they
and
know
they set you up on a date, I would totally do a blind date.
Oh,
I'd rather do that than an app any day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually, I'm like, I cheated, but I'm like, this is actually... Never have I ever accidentally belly flopped in a public setting whilst trying to be cool at the pool, lake, etc.
I'm sure I did at the community pool, but I don't remember it. Did you? I feel like I know. Alec
I know.
Cohen. Like
We know
this
you
is
did.
like
I head flopped. Who does that?
this is.
Head flopped?
Yes.
Were you trying to do a flip?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That is
Because if not, I would have had questions.
peak Alec Cohen Bradford. Peak.
Let me tell you
Head
how.
flopped. How old are you?
Like last year.
2021.
Yeah,
See,
2021.
this is gonna get so good.
I was running. Okay, so I went on this excursion. I was in Jamaica, and there's like 8 different
At
waterfalls.
least you were in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Right. But there were like 8 different waterfalls that we were jumping off of. I had my little GoPro on my wrist, and I was like, yeah, you know. And we got to this one that was like the biggest drop so far, and it was actually like a concrete, almost like a platform, like a diving board, but concrete, and you just run and you jump off. And I watched all these people jump off, and I was like, that's a good 20 feet down. I have plenty of room. So I'm going to run, and I'm going to like do a front tuck. And I've done that off of a ledge, but not 20 feet. And so I over-rotated. I did my front flip, but then I still kept going forward. And all I saw was like water coming at me. And I just like face planted.
Ouch.
Ouch.
I mean, I'm not even embarrassed for you. Like, that sounds painful.
It really was. And it was painful, but it's the part when you pop your head up out of the water and everyone's looking at you with their eyes wide like,
yeah.
ow.
Yeah.
It like hurts your face and your soul.
Yes.
Yes.
And your pride.
Yes.
That's
Both
why I
of
never
them.
try to like be cute and show off.
It makes you angry.
Right? I was like, this is my first like vacation with like my boyfriend, and I'm all trying to be cute, and even he was like, "You okay?" I was like,
Yeah, I'm fine, boo.
I like the segue. It makes you angry. Yes. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. No, I've never belly.
I'm sure it
anywhere.
happened. I'm sure at the
Maybe
American
when I was
Red
a
Cross
kid.
pool in Ardmore, I did.
Yeah.
I had a friend who landed on her butt in water, and the water shot up her butthole, and she was like, "Ah!" And we couldn't figure out why she was crying. Her dad was like, "Did water go up your butt?" Yeah.
Oh,
Gee,
wow.
I've never even heard of that.
Wow, okay.
That's different.
All right.
So, y'all, we were talking about, I mean, angry because of the butt water hole.
That would make me angry.
That would make me real angry.
Angry.
I'm mad. That's what
Only
you
thing
didn't
I want to
do
belly
is work.
flop on Jamaica is some D, not some water.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you, Alec Cohen, has been reading this book, and we've just gotten into the conversation of like how comfortable it is as a woman to, you know,
Display anger.
and have it out there and be judged by it, et cetera, et cetera. So take it. What was this?
Well, first of all, I didn't even know that was an issue for me. I always thought,
okay.
well, first of all, I'm not one to yell and get loud, and I always
True.
thought it was because I grew up in a household where my dad used to yell at me all the time, and I didn't like the way it felt, so why would I ever yell at somebody else?
Sure.
Common sense. And then I took this acting class, and
Oh, I remember this.
yeah, and so Meisner is a technique that gets like really, really deep, and I studied it for 2 years at this one school. My teacher, when we did get to the emotion of anger, he was like, "You don't like that emotion, do you?" He's like, "You're acting anger, but you're not feeling anger." And I was like, oh. Meaning, you know the emotions, like when you're angry, you're supposed to be like, rah, and this, and that. Or my idea of what anger is supposed to look like, but he could tell that I was so disingenuine about the feeling. And he's like, anger makes you really uncomfortable. Like, I can tell. It makes you so uncomfortable. You need to work with that. And I was like,
Don't you love when that happens, either like in an acting class or in like therapy, when like you get called out on a thing that you're like, oh shit, you're right. Like, damn. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of love that.
Yeah.
So what happened after that for you? Like,
Well, then I thought it was just like a me thing, right? And I did try to, and it's funny because then I realized, like, how often do you go outside and yell? You don't. As a kid, you yell and you scream and you get loud, but then as you get older, you don't do that. You learn to restrict yourself. But sometimes yelling is a very healthy way of just like, like just get it out.
sure.
And I think going back to the book, especially like women, little girls are like, shh, be quiet. You know, like boys are rowdy and they can do all the things. Oh, they're just being boys. You know, sometimes you're like, little boys are crazy. But
What is the book called? By the way,
let me find it.
And while you look for it, what I was gonna say is though, when I'm like really, really angry, when I've been like just so angry, I'm not loud. Like I'm quiet, and it's
I'm
just
the
I
same
almost
way.
want to cry.
I'm
Like
the same
yes.
if I almost want to cry, then I am angry.
I get yelly angry at like technology. Like, that's where I get irrationally angry. We just,
like, wow, okay.
I mean, technology will send me off, and like, but then I get it out, and I'm like, boop, boop, boop.
Right.
But yes, when I'm very angry, I get very still. Thank God, it's such a great. I get very still. I get very calm, and I'm able to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm able to do what I need to do. Maybe, but it is a very internal, very like I could cry right now. I'm so angry.
Wait, that's what's crazy is that's not uncommon. Like when women get angry, we cry,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it's not knowing.
And is it more common, or is this a stereotype that men I am angry? Like
I mean, that could be a stereotype, and I think it depends on how you were raised as well,
I
too.
think so too.
Because this book was also saying that naturally little boys are actually more sensitive than little girls, but we teach them to not be because it's not manly. So then they're taught to
Listen.
stuff it down, hide it, and that's why there's so many unhealthy men out there emotionally because they're trying to fit into the mold of what it means to be a man, and you toughen up your little boy. And
Anger is kind of the only emotion that men are allowed to feel.
yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, they
I
can't
think
be
we've talked
sad
about this on
and
this show.
hurt and-
They can't be sad. They can't be hurt. And I don't mean this to be like, oh, poor men. I'm just saying if
No.
we're looking at like anger with feminism and masculine and feminine, how this shows up, yeah, it's that you're just taught that you can be an angry man. And that's kind of it. Like you can't be shown anything weak.
Correct. And why is feminine weak though? When we all have a piece of masculine and a piece of feminine
Mhm.
in us, it's, anyways. But just to show you guys the book really quick, it's called On Our Best Behavior: The 7 Deadly Sins and the Price Women Pay to Be Good by Elise Lohan. I hope I said that
Lohan.
right. Anyways, but I just thought that to be interesting. And you being a therapist, I'm sure you have your own insight because I don't think it's necessarily healthy to. I mean, they have those anger rooms, right? Like where they
The
open-
rage rooms.
Range rooms, yeah, where you go in and you break shit to get it out. And if,
I love that.
have you done it? I want to do that.
Yes, I love that. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
a
think
it's
that'd
a
be
very cathartic. I haven't done it like at a rage room. I've done it like with
At
so
my house.
no, we had it was me and a coworker when I used to work at the law office. Like we were getting rid of a printer, and like they were gonna, and we were like, let's just like in the movie Office Space, we took it down to the recycling, and before recycling, we just beat the shit out of it, and it was
funny.
very cathartic. It was very,
Wow.
but I have a problem with anger as well. I think feeling anger, experience,
Yes.
and like letting myself being just because the way I grew up, I'm codependent. And you take care of people, so it's just it was a caretaker emotionally of people. So I think sometimes caretakers, man or female, are just human. Caretakers often don't feel anger because they don't feel like they have permission to do it, because then if they experience anger, then how are the people in your life going to tolerate that? And then if they go into a breakdown, then you have to take care of them.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of like nuance to it, but yeah, I think that anger, it gets a bad rap, and that it's something we feel like we need to. I agree with you. It needs to be felt. It needs to be. I mean, Brene Brown talks about like the pendulum of emotion, and when we don't feel rage, when we don't feel despair, and we don't actually inhabit those things and feel them fully, then that actually lessens the way it makes the way we feel joy less deep, actually more shallow, because that's our emotional, literally, and that's data is proven that scientifically. So the more you feel, period, the the more cathartic it is for you as a human. And I think so that goes back to like, I mean, we could talk, there's all like, I feel like it's a whole other podcast talking about like racial things of like angry black man, angry black woman, but
Spicy
also
Latina.
spicy Latina, like all of that. And then even like redhead, like people are like, oh, you're a redhead, you get more angry. And I'm like, actually, I'm not a real redhead, but sure. But so these ideas that we have, and it's, I think if you look at our political system, even like how different candidates are allowed to be angry and others not, and like, you know, Obama, I felt was probably very, very mindful of the fact that he never really showed anger, and when he did, it was very contained. He made sure he was, quote, well spoken, all that bullshit that people play into.
Yeah.
So,
you know, side note, because you brought in politics, and whether you love her, you hate her, you think she's evil behind closed doors, but Hillary Clinton had a documentary and she talked about how, like, when she was Bill Clinton's wife, and even when she was running, like, there's certain things that she couldn't do. Like, they made her wear a headband because it looked more homely, or she couldn't wear this. And then when she was running, she couldn't be too feminine, right? And that's any woman in power of CEO or police officer. You have to all of a sudden be super masculine to be taken seriously because women are run by their emotions. They're too emotional. But there's actually a benefit to being emotional, because when you are emotional, science has shown that you stop and you think about the repercussions of certain behaviors. So there is that pause. Whereas if a man is acting instinctually on his anger or whatever he's feeling, he's very in the moment and very, like, quote unquote logical. But that can also lead to more problems.
Yeah.
Like with war and with this and with that.
Well, I think that's one reason why we had an insurrection. It's because the president at the time was really angry, and because he's a man, it's easier for him to show that, you know. Whereas if a woman can, you know, if Vice President Harris did something like that, people would go, not only is she angry woman, angry black woman. So it definitely, I feel like for women, it's this, I'm all about women being angry. I love seeing, you know, I think that's a, you know, because I wonder, like, how do we help women feel anger? And probably one of those ways is by seeing other women angry.
Yeah.
And, like, knowing what, because I don't know, like, as girls, like, did you even see examples of how women express anger when you were young?
No. And it's interesting because I also had read, what would it be like if we allowed our children to see us fight? Like, parents always do it behind closed doors, and all you hear is the yelling, and it's scary. But if you could see two parents argue, but then come to a resolution and resolve, would you then later on in life learn how to solve a problem better?
But what if they don't come to a resolution and resolve? Like, so when you asked that, I was thinking, like, my mom, very much so, because of, like, the history and the culture and what she saw, she could feel something and maybe be upset by it and be angry, but, like, would just let it be, you know, and that is what I grew up seeing. And then when just noticing in my past relationships, there was a relationship that I was in that this person, just the emotions were all over the place, and he got very used to being angry or depressed or X, Y, or Z, and I was always the cheerleader. And I think I've talked about this in another episode before. So there was that moment where whenever I expressed anger or sadness or anything that wasn't Peppy Val, it was just like, oh, you know, like when you're like that, like everybody can feel it. And it's just like, oh, okay. You know, and it's just like, so like I was like shunned for feeling my feelings. Like if I wasn't a peer, then like you're not pleasant to be around. And I'm like, okay, but then you can be that all the time because you have a diagnosis, and like that's not very fair. That's not nice. So that was, I learned a lot in that dynamic, and I feel like now I'm trying to, I think my biggest balance now is, because I'm not afraid to voice if something bothers me or if I'm angry. I haven't really felt anger in a long time, but displeasure maybe. But I think it's, what I'm working on is trying to feel whatever feelings I feel that aren't like Peppy Val. And that moment from feeling that to dissecting it and figuring it out for myself, and then getting back to Peppy Val sooner. So there's not so much of a long disconnect. But I definitely know about myself that I've learned that I need time to kind of figure it out in my head. Which I can understand for a partner would be like, okay, where'd you go? Like what's going on? I'm like, I'm good. I need to figure it out before I can have that conversation, right? And not have the angry conversation, but have the like, you know what it is? What bothered me was, it's just da-da-da. And I think it's because da-da-da-da-da.
It's great that you can pinpoint that and articulate that, because some people don't know what they're feeling or why. They know they feel angry, but they can't tell you, so it doesn't make the problem better.
I'm just trying to get faster at the pinpointing, so the in between doesn't feel like the processing doesn't feel like, oh, you're just being cold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm not actually trying to be cold. I'm trying to figure it out, and usually runs and something active usually help me, or journal or writing help. Yeah. So how do you deal with anger? Or like when Ranjiv asked you that, like,
well, it made me upset. I mean, I'm an emotional person.
Like, yes, I got what I needed. She's angry.
But it wasn't angry that it turned into sadness and hurt and be like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. No, I think, and it's something I'm still working on.
Sure.
And I've started to do a little bit of breath work, and I was like, oh, like you always hear breath work, and to me, I think of like a yogi, and that there's nothing wrong with that life. It's actually really balanced and healthy. But I just never understood it, because I'm like, I breathe all the time when I go on walks. Sometimes I'll take extra deep breaths. But I did this class, and it was called the Divine Feminine, or the Wild Woman Within. That's what it's called. The Wild Woman Within.
Love that.
Yeah. And so she had done breath work too, and using your voice while you breathe, which I did subconsciously when I was, you guys know I had a situation. I was writing these movies with somebody who her and I didn't really, we just bumped heads a lot, and oftentimes I felt bullied a little bit, and I didn't know how to handle conflict, so I just was quiet about it, and I had the lower hand in terms of status, so I just took it, and I would briefly take breaks, take my dog out for a potty break, and as I'd walk, I'd go, and something about the vibration of my vocal cords soothed me, and I was like, oh, and then you think about it, babies soothe themselves, right? And years later, now that I took this Wild Woman Within class, she was doing breath work where literally you're breathing in and inhaling all this air and moving your spine like in a snake forward position, like, and then releasing, but making all these weird noises. But she's like, those noises represent things that are stuck in your body. And so I'm over here in my house, like all by myself, like, And there's even something therapeutic about sticking your tongue all the way out as far as it can go. Like yogi people do it too. And you're like,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden tears came out of nowhere. And I was like, I don't even know why I'm crying, but something is coming out. And so I just let it, and I just kept breathing and making all the weird noises, and then just, and then I alluded that to like whatever's stuck inside, the hurt, the anger, it's okay. And I think just like screaming can be lethargic. So can crying, and being okay with that, and just letting the emotion be in motion and move through and out me, and not shame myself for feeling whatever that is.
Yeah.
Because you see in babies cry, they rage, they get upset, they scream, and then they let it go.
Yes, but then we teach them not to do that.
But then like our instinct. Yes, as they get older, we tell them, be quiet, you're disrupting people. I mean, you do have to teach your children how to regulate emotion, but how do we regulate emotion in a healthy way for our mental and our physical state? Because I do think you're right that there is, the more and more we learn about science and things of just when we hold on to resentment, anger, toxic, negative feelings, how they can lead to disease.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely, it's just something that I think both of you did great. I think physicality is such like the number one way to change your perception or to disrupt an emotion you're feeling, whether good or bad way, is to do something physical.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. While you were going through that, it made me think in college, we went through all these exercises before we did any scenes
Mm-hmm.
where we would literally get on the floor or on a wall and we'd be on our backs. Our teacher would be like, open up your crotch and, you know, spread your legs however you want. And you'd like roll, and we would be forced to do those kind of sounds like, ha, and like just use your voice and hum and whatever it was, and literally like roll on the floor and it felt very odd. But as you were saying that, it like clicked on how she forced us to release everything that was like ours, whatever emotions that were pent up for Valerie, for Alicona, before we did scene work, character work, so that we were kind of fresh to receive then whatever emotions that character was feeling. So now when you were going that, I was like, oh my gosh, like it makes sense.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well,
So would you recommend then, like for somebody feeling anger, is that it, like try to get it out physically?
I think music, that's a great thing for me. If I'm feeling angry and pissed at an ex or something like that, I can put on Carrie Underwood before he cheats.
Yes.
Or like, man, I feel like I go to my country queens, I go to Reba, Shania, Trisha Yearwood. That's where I go. But I think that is the beautiful catharticness of music, is that music, it beats within our body and it just causes us to have a reaction to it. And so I think if you don't want to run or do something physical, or if you don't have that space, just really listening to a song that enables you to feel the emotion you're tentative or scared to feel in that moment in your car, that's a great little trick.
So I'm going to give one last nugget before we wrap things up and say, one thing that Tony Robbins always says, in order to change your emotional state, you have to change your physical state. And so when he teaches seminars, a lot of times at the beginning, he'll have people like jump up and down and stuff. And that's so true, like what you guys are saying with movement. So for me, what I'll do, even like after an acting class, if I'm like really feeling like, blah, or life happens, I'm not a Swiftie, y'all, but I will turn on some Taylor Swift, shake it off, and I will literally shake my hands in the air, jump in the air, and be that little kid again that skips to music, and I'm like, shake it off, and by that time, your body we learned this in acting, like you can't feel two things at once. So if you're in that state, like an extreme state, I'll say that extreme state, it's hard to feel sad, icky, yucky while you're screaming, singing, shake it off, some cheesy pop song. And then you laugh at yourself and you realize like it's not that serious.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Shake it off, everybody.
Shake it off.
But
I love
also
it.
feel it. But also, yeah. I love it. Thank you again.
And hashtag balance. Yes.
Yes. Yay.
I love it. Till next time, right?
Yes. Adios.
Yes.
Adios.
Bye. Go scream somewhere.
Yes.